and welcome to Nationwide. Thanks for joining us. I am Dennis Adegunloye. We'll begin with developments in the housing sector. The renewed hope initiative of President Bola Tinubu to provide affordable quality houses for Nigerians is a task which the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development is poised to fulfill. This position was reiterated during the oversight visit by the Senate Committee on Land, Housing and Urban Development to the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. Francis Udojo has the report.
The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Musa Dangiwa, who played host to the Senate committee, said the groundbreaking for the construction of 100,000 housing units across the Federation took place at Karasana in Abuja and has been replicated in some states, including Kano, with plans to deliver the renewed Hope estates and cities in December 2024. He described the Senate committee's visit crucial to achieving the President Tinubu's housing agenda for Nigerians.
They are happy with the spread of the estate, that it covers the entire nation. And they are happy it even cut across all political parties. No anyone will come and say that there is any favoritism to the ruling party or any other party. We also took them through the public-private partnerships that we are doing with some of the reputable developers, to which Karsana is one of it. We are building 3,112 sites.
The Chairman, Senate Committee on Land, Housing and Urban Development, Senator Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, said it is a constitutional mandate of the committee to carry out oversight visits to ensure that the funds appropriated for projects are judiciously used.
Democracy, of course, that's about checks and balances. How else do you know what's happening if you don't go to the site visit? So that's why we're here. And of course, we are ready to support the program of the federal government in providing affordable housing for Nigerians under the renewed hope agenda.
The senator and his team promised to make more budgetary provisions for the ministry to ensure timely completion of the housing projects. Francis Udojo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the federal government is building the capacities of the nation's security agencies to effectively clamp down on perpetrators of crude oil theft in the country. This was revealed at a public hearing by the House of Representatives Special Committee investigating all dimensions of crude oil theft, where the need for stronger laws was emphasized to curb the menace.
It is estimated that between January and July 2024, Nigeria lost an average of 437,000 barrels of crude oil per day due to theft. At the current price of oil, this translates to over $10 billion.
This exercise is expectedly strengthen our legal framework to ensure that those who engage in oil theft and related offenses face the full wrath of law.
They have given us contributions, some of them very sensitive enough that we may not likely take on the camera. And also remember that this is a committee that by the mandate of the House will enjoy what we call a quasi-judicial power, quasi-judicial status. So not everything that we have gathered so far that will now be out in the public. After all, at the end, we'll have to submit our reports, recommendations to the House.
Key players advocated a multifaceted approach encompassing security measures and community engagement to address crude oil theft. And the House of Representatives is pushing for amendments of the Electricity Act 2023 to provide for stiffer punishment for vandals of power infrastructure and other electricity offenders. The House Committee on Power agrees with the Nigeria Electricity Management Services Agency that with an increase in activities of vandals and other crimes in the sector, there is need to establish an electricity offences tribunal for speeding prosecutions of cases. NEMSA also calls for the establishment of metering maintenance and a recertification fund, as well as unification of standardization and certification of electrical equipment in the country as subnationals create their electricity market.
Electricity Act. The man who stole is getting lesser punishment than the man who is buying. And we found out that both of them are accomplices, that they should go, as far as I'm concerned, even the man who is buying should have more, the punishment should be more severe than what it is today. If you look at the dangers, the inconveniences it's causing, because, for example, those vandals who went to Kebbi that led to the fire outbreak, it's costing us, it should be billions, if not millions. And if you look at the magnitude of the damage, and you are telling somebody to go for 3 months, 4 months, 1 year, it's not enough.
If there should be an establishment of an electricity offences tribunal, because when you look at the provisions of the agency in the Act, we have a long process of enforcement. So with this present system, most likely we will have delayed prosecution.
Let's now turn our attention to the lingering issue of the planned national protest. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has stressed that the nation's capital will not be available for the protest. The minister was re-emphasizing this at the FCT Security Council meeting in Abuja. Onoze Yakubu reports.
At the meeting with heads of security agencies in the territory, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike reiterates that despite the residents' right to express grievances, it should be done within the ambit of the law. He adds that protest is not the solution, but the collective support to overcome challenges, as 1st of August will be a busy day for the FCT residents.
For us as FCT, we have seen the changes in FCT. We have seen that government is working. Mr. President has given FCT so much support that a lot of us can attest to the fact that there are a lot of changes going on in the FCT. And therefore, we will not allow anybody to set us back. We are looking forward to make sure that we take FCT to where it's supposed to be, as one of the major cities, not only in Africa, but also in the world. And so we will not allow anybody to disrupt peace, set us back. And so, for those who want to protest on the 1st or thereabout, FCT is not available for such a protest. Unfortunately, though, that is the day FCT has set aside for the entire area council's jubilating to give out certificate of recognition to all their traditional rulers. So we will not allow that day that the FCT has set aside to honor their traditional rulers for their people to come and rejoice. And then somebody will say that you want to disrupt that day. We will not allow it.
He, however, urges residents to go about their normal businesses, assuring of the safety of lives and property. Onoze Yakubu, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Department of State Services says it has identified the sponsors of the planned protest and warned them not to proceed with it, as it is not in the country's interest. In a statement, the service acknowledged that while peaceful protest is a democratic right of citizens, it confirms a sinister plan by some elements to infiltrate the protest and use it to cause chaos and extreme violence in the land. It has also identified the reason behind the protest to be political and the plotters' desire to use the intended violent outcome to smear the federal and subnational governments, thereby making them unpopular and pitch them against the masses. The long-term objective, the DSS confirms, is to achieve a regime change, especially at the center. The statement adds that the service has also identified, among others, the funding lines, sponsors and collaborators of the plot. However, it does not think that aggression should be the first line of action in this instance in handling the emerging scenario. While the different levels of government have routinely explained their agenda to ameliorate the harsh economic conditions, the service urges the prospective protesters to listen to the voices of reason, good conscience, and patiently engage with the authorities in the interest of peace. And Director General of the Michael Imudu National Institute for Labour Studies Issa Aremu has called for an all-inclusive national social dialogue led by organized labor and the current economic challenges as against leaderless protests that could lead to unhelpful and unavoidable anarchy. Speaking at the 2024 policy seminar series of the Institute on Democratic, Human and Workers' Rights, an inevitable tripology for human development, Aremu cautioned against leaderless protests in Africa, adding that protests without a clear-cut agenda are destroying countries like Sudan and Kenya, which Nigeria should not copy. He observed that while Nigeria celebrates 25 years of uninterrupted democracy, there are still anti-democratic forces lurking around to truncate democracy. He said the challenges of democracy can only be overcome through more democracy and inclusive dialogue between the government and the people. Comrade Aremu commended the 10th National Assembly for the speedy passage of the new 70,000 naira minimum wage bill as proposed by President Bola Tinubu. The former leader called on civil society to emulate the approach of the organized labor in engaging in policy contestation through peaceful dialogue on the rising cost of living. Elsewhere, in a bold move to diversify Nigeria's economy and create jobs, the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment has inaugurated the National Association of Agricultural Commodities. The Permanent Secretary, Ambassador Nura Abba Rimi, speaking at the inauguration in Abuja, reiterated government's commitment to developing and promoting non-oil export commodities across the value chain. Serafina Okon reports.
One of the major challenges with Nigerian products at the international market is quality, says Ambassador Nura Abba Rimi, Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment, and that the agency has taken proactive steps to change the narrative. As participants of the 18th Association of Agricultural Commodities is to ensure the country becomes self-sufficient in food production and in line with Mr. President's renewed hope that dependency in oil is reduced while non-oil sector improves in terms of value addition to the development of the economy, as most Nigerian commodities are exported in their raw forms, thereby robbing the nation of jobs which would have been created if they had been processed. It is in the recognition of this ugly trend that the ministry is interested in nurturing and forming national commodity associations across value chain to ensure direct linkage and synergy among the key players and the various commodity subsectors, as well as encourage value addition.
What we do as government is to ensure and provide enabling playing field for them to be able to flourish. And government do give incentives to the private sector for them to be able to perform better.
These commodity associations have been nurtured and critically examined by the ministry to ensure that they adhere strictly to quality.
The Federal Ministry of Trade and Investments says it is committed to creating an enabling environment to attract private sector investment and promote competitiveness of Nigerian products in the local and international market through the Ease of Doing Business initiative, a strategy aimed at removing all roadblocks that slow down business activities in the country. Serafina Okon Omikwe, NTA News.
On to environmental matters. Effective waste management and proper sensitization of the citizens in preparation for flood disasters have been described as a panacea to tackling floods and epidemics in Ekiti State. This was the submission of stakeholders at a workshop on sensitization and public awareness campaign on proper waste management and flood preparedness organized by the National Emergency Management Agency Operations Office in Ekiti State. Olukemi Sani has details.
Ekiti State over the years have been experiencing series of flood disasters as well as adverse health consequences which have led to damages of property worth billions of naira and several loss of lives, and haven't been warned in the flood prediction of the NIMET and the seasonal climate projections of potential flooding in Ekiti State. The National Emergency Management Agency is not folding its hands. as this calls for concerted efforts on disaster risk reduction and enhanced collaboration between emergency response providers at community, local, state, and federal levels towards efficient and effective flood preparedness, prevention, mitigation, and response.
So we are encouraging the citizens not to block the drainages. So we as federal government were talking to the state, who would then talk to the local governments in that order.
This is when we start to talk about turning waste to wealth.
As many residents have cultivated the habit of indiscriminate dumping of refuse, building on waterways, and negligence of hygienic living, stakeholders have come up with measures that will help to educate and enlighten residents on proper ways to dispose their waste to prevent blocked drainages. Residents are therefore admonished to imbibe the culture and practices of proper waste management and ensure that blocked drainages in individual houses, communities, and streets are packed for free flow of water. In Ado-Ekiti, Olukemi Sani, NTA News.
A university lecturer of Departments of Animal Sciences and Biochemistry at the National Open University of Nigeria, Professor Ahmed Njida, has advocated the need for people to attach more attention to the kind of food being consumed, waste management, and so as to have a cleaner and healthy environment. This was the thrust of his lecture delivered at the 26th inaugural lecture of the university on marvels in ruminant nutrition, the quest for animal protein. The lecture dwelt on the importance of a balanced diet to both humans and animals, believing that almost 80% of diseases, death, and environmental hazards are caused by inappropriate human use of plants and non-recycling materials.
There are so many agricultural waste and animal waste that serve as source of pollution to our environment. Can't we convert this thing now to become feed to animal? In so doing, it will reduce costs and it will reduce environmental pollution. Some of this waste we are throwing away, this animal can use it as feed. At the end of the day, the animal becomes a feed to you. You feed it to animal, it makes it valuable to the animal, and you now feed on the animal. So at the end of the day, you achieve success in, making the environment free from pollution.
The stuff of which academics have made in Nigeria is very great because it cautioned us that we should at least look inwards and tell ourselves that we are as good as the Europeans that we normally do copy.
It was agreed at the lecture that much is needed by humans to guide what they eat and do for a healthy and productive nation. All right, it's now time to join Adeola in our Lagos Network Center for reports in that zone. Hello, Adeola.
Thank you, Dennis, and welcome to Lagos. To enhance personnel welfare through non-public funds, the Chief of Naval Staff says attitude of transparency, accountability and continuous evaluation to ensure that evolving needs of personnel are met must be imbibed. This was the thrust of the Accounts and Budget Branch Seminar 2024 with the theme Optimizing Nigerian Navy Non-Public Fund Opportunities in a Dynamic Economic Environment, the Nigerian Navy Personnel in Focus. The seminar, the Chief of Naval Staff in his message said, is coming at a time strategies are being explored to generate funds independently from government budgetary allocation in addressing welfare needs towards enhancing living standards of personnel as well as for operational efficiency and effectiveness.
The welfare drives the quality of personnel and we're able to maximize from the quality on the work. So we've seen housing units over 300, several other palliative that have been given by the Chief of Naval Staff to personnel. I think this is the way we are to go in terms of ramping up support to the president, in this renewed hope agenda.
The Chief of Accounts and Budget had earlier listed some of the laudable projects and initiatives undertaken by the Chief of Naval Staff in 1 year.
There is no denying the limitation imposed by the paucity of funds owing to budgetary constraints, but innovative solutions must be found to achieve the welfare vision of the Chief of the Naval Staff.
The keynote speaker stressed the importance of salary, health, accommodation, and transportation, which leads to higher productivity of personnel.
While salary review is beyond the Nigerian Navy purview, reconsidering the categorization of Naval allowances is feasible.
The seminar rekindled the minds of participants to think outside the box to utilize non-public funds to improve personnel welfare for a more resilient and capable naval force. Protecting Nigeria's territorial integrity and upholding the peaceful coexistence of the citizens is the major task of the armed forces. This responsibility is what officers and men of the 81 Division of the Nigerian Army have therefore been enjoined to sustain in the interest of national prosperity. The outgoing General Officer commanding 81 Division, Major General Muhammad Usman, re-echoed this at an engagement with officers in Lagos. Joa Kpokwola has that report.
A parade to demonstrate the resilience and strength of the 81 Division, reputed to have zero tolerance for laxity in the pursuit of the vision, mission and goal of the Nigerian Army. As required by the military, officers and men are expected to be combat ready to crush any threat to the peace and progress of the nation, and this was aptly demonstrated by the GOC in this show of doggedness. The officers were reminded of the need to remain steadfast in their loyalty to the government while upholding discipline in their dealings.
Continue to put in your praise for the sake of this country. It is the only country we can call our own, and God made no mistake for making us in Nigeria.
Apparently, it is the last parade for the outgoing General Officer commanding 81 Division, Major General Muhammad Usman, but the message will resonate for a long time. Like they say, the reward for hard work is more hard work. The military hierarchy is tasking officers and men not to relent in combating security threats in the nation. In Lagos, Joel Bukbola, NTA News.
And that's it from Lagos. Nationwide will continue with Ladidi in Maiduguri when we return from this break. Please stay with us. To Maiduguri, glad to have you join us. Towards creating a framework for a national migration policy, a zonal capacity building workshop was held in Maiduguri to bridge gaps identified by stakeholders in the 2015 policy, incorporating recommendations for a more effective strategy. Senator reports that the event is at the instance of the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons.
The workshop included participation from key stakeholders such as the International Organization for Migration, Multi-Partner Trust Fund, United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, and the United Nations Network on Migration. Discussions sought to address migration challenges in states like Adamawa, Bauchi, Borno, and Yobe towards finding long-term solutions to the region's issues. Hamza Ibrahim Baba, the Special Assistant for Humanitarian Affairs, representing the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, emphasized that the National Assembly has passed bills supporting internally displaced persons and refugees, reflecting Nigeria's commitment to the welfare of its migrating population. Key figures including representatives from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Barbara Dele Oyi, International Organization for Migration, Unkamaka Ayanechi, and the National Commission for Refugee, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, Saadatu Shatima, highlighted the urgent need for comprehensive consultations to address growing migration issues.
Zonal intervention, we want to hear from stakeholders, whatever that's happening,
within the migration space.
If migration is a human rights issue, and then sometimes linking it to security makes a conversation on migration being toxic. Not minding the fact that every development in every country, you cannot rule away the migrants.
The initiative aims to develop a robust framework and policies addressing irregular migration, conflict resolution, and border management, ensuring the protection and well-being of refugees, migrants, and internally displaced persons, while strengthening national borders. In Maiduguri, Tina Toro, NTA News.
Renewed Hope Initiative has made a significant contribution to revitalizing Borno State education sector, which has been severely impacted by insurgency. Through wife of the Borno State Governor, who is also the state coordinator, Dr. Falmata Babagana Umar Zulum, the initiative distributed 100,000 free exercise books to pupils and junior secondary school students across the state. Pauline Kujavan has details.
The launch was met with excitement and joy by the beneficiaries, who also showcased their intellectual ability to the admiration of all. Wife of the Borno State Governor and State Coordinator Renewed Hope Initiative, Dr. Falmata Babagana Umar Zulum, acknowledged the unwavering commitment and unprecedented support of the wife of the President, Oluremi Tinubu, which will significantly enhance the state government's initiatives in education.
We will monitor and address any challenge that may arise promptly and ensure that they contribute positively to the educational landscape of Borno State.
Commissioner of Education Lawan Abawe Kilbe and Chairman Subem, Professor Bula Makago, appreciated the gesture and prayed for continuous support to improve learning outcomes in the state, highlighting the challenges faced by adolescent girls in maintaining menstrual hygiene and appealed for donations of dignity kits to support them in schools.
From 2019 to date, has built and is building 120 like this.
The distribution of the exercise books commenced immediately across the 27 local government areas to the local education secretaries. It has been a consistent effort by the Renewed Hope Initiative to bring about positive change in Borno State, implementing programs that aim to shift the narrative from the devastating effect of insurgency to one of renewed hope and progress. In Maiduguri, Pauline Kujevana, NTA News.
Those are the trending stories from the Home of Peace. Nationwide continues with Dennis in Abuja. Dennis, is back to you.
Thank you, La Didi. Let's get some more stories on environment. As the rainy season sets in, the prediction by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency that 31 states will be affected by floods is raising concerns from residents and environmentalists on the urgent need for relevant authorities to put in place adequate interventions to mitigate the effects given past experiences in Rivers State. Let's get more from Robinson Deratede.
Flooding is not new in Rivers State and has continued to leave a trail of tears, pains and devastation in its wake. What is, however, eliciting public concern is the lack of adequate measures by authorities to address this natural disaster that has continued to affect structures, farmlands, and has rendered many homeless in the past.
So many persons lost even life on it. So many houses, properties were gone. Most of them today does not even have a house today. What government did was to just give them an IDP.
Most of the problem is from individual, that's us. Like all this drainage now. There are some areas we go, especially where I'm living. You will see them, they will throw in dirty anyhow, dumping refuse anyhow. The gutter will be blocked. So what do you expect government to do? They've done their part.
Worried about the pressure of the rains expected in the coming days, respondents are calling on the authorities concerned to commence clearing of the natural waterways and drainages, while urging residents to complement the efforts. Drainages in some parts of Port Harcourt, like the Paralink Road, are being expanded by the NDDC, and intervention they suggest should be extended to other areas.
The government will take it as a point of duty most times to see that before the rain begins heavily from this July period, at least to take off the sand and the trashes in all the drainage, and it will also help the masses also.
those who live in areas where the flood impacts severely should try to move their things now, look for alternative accommodation for the period. For those who have crops in their farmland, it's better to salvage them now.
People living in flood-prone areas are also advised to relocate to safer grounds in good time. Robinson Daratide, NTA News.
Well, Robinson Daratide is standing by at the East-West Road to speak on efforts of the authorities in this regard and the safety consciousness of the people. Hello, Robinson. Just tell us how prepared are the residents there and what further efforts are the authorities making to curb or minimize flooding when it's or if it comes? What are the efforts being made to curb any potential threats of floods in the state?
You see, Rivers State is one of the states that have been suffering the consequences of flooding for some time now. About 13 local government areas are flooded annually, and out of these, four of these 13 local governments are most devastated. And this is Onelga, Abuja, Aoda East, and Aoda West. And these are some of the local governments that share direct boundary with Bayelsa State. Every year, these areas are seriously flooded. And it's just a section of the state because riverine communities that are of salt water are not flooded. So the good thing is that the Rivers State government have the opportunity to concentrate on this area and mitigate the effects of the flooding. But as we speak now, there are no visible measures on ground for everyone to see whether this predicted flood will be mitigated this time around. But what we know is that the state government has a committee set up for palliative. So perhaps in the coming days, this committee might be used to address these issues. But what the people are clamoring for now is that residents should not just wait for the government, but they should also ensure that the drainages around them are cleared so that this year's flooding will not be as devastated as it has been experienced before. Another major aspect of this is the fact that land reclamation and building on natural waterways has been a major cause of flash flood in Port Harcourt metropolis. So they are calling on the government to ensure that land builders follow the laid-down rules and regulations in building their houses. And of course, flooding has also been causing serious food shortage in the state because these areas where this flood is coming from are major aspect where food is coming from. So these are the major concerns of the people right now in Rivers State.
Okay, Robinson, many thanks for giving us that update on preparedness over there for any potential floods that may come. Now, as part of efforts to decongest the labour markets to encourage self-employment, the Eze Mitchell Wukole Foundation has empowered 59 youths in Owerri Federal Constituency of Imo State with 1 million naira each, while 9 others received 500,000 naira each. The empowerment program took place at the palace of the traditional ruler of Igbo Autonomous Community in Owerri, North Local Government Area of Imo State, His Royal Highness Eze Mitchell Igwulhole. Kingsley Ononimu has the reports, and it is now here presented.
Presenting the 1 million naira and 500,000 naira checks to the beneficiaries from Owerri North to Owerri West and Owerri Municipal, the 3 local government areas that make up the Owerri Federal Constituency, the founder of Eze Mitchell Wukole Foundation, Prince Ikenne Wukole, noted that the foundation was established to honor the legacies of his late father, Eze Mitchell Eze Somaga Wukole, or Choroma IV of Ebu Kingdom through youth empowerment. He therefore urged beneficiaries to use the capital to start up their own businesses or expand existing ones.
Use these resources wisely
wife of the founder is the Michelle Egbukole Foundation, Princess Jennifer Egbukole, as well as her husband's brother, is the Michelle Uchenna Egbukole, who is the current traditional ruler of Ebu Autonomous Community, also encouraged the beneficiaries to take advantage of the great opportunities offered them to improve their livelihood.
Don't take those steps for granted. Remember, we were each given 2 days training that covered so many comprehensive topics.
I have not followed any other God or worshipped any other God except God in heaven.
The beneficiaries expressed gratitude to Prince Ikenna Egbukole for his kind gesture and promised to invest the money given to them wisely.
Let this foundation continue to grow. Appreciate the money, that's the seed grant of 500,000 and 1 million, which we are giving to all of us.
Some of the dignitaries that graced the occasion described the youth empowerment program as a step in the right direction.
To health matters now. Imbibing proper hygiene practices such as hand washing, drinking clean water, as well as consumption of washed fruits are some of the ways to mitigate the outbreak of cholera. Program Coordinator, Plateau State Sustainable Urban and Rural Water Supply, Sanitation and Hygiene, Jonathan Malan, stated this while on a sensitization tour in Jos. Bilkisu Nuhu reports.
Cholera is a severe disease caused by the ingestion of food and contaminated water. It remains a significant threat to health, particularly in communities with inadequate water supply, sanitation, and hygiene. Taking cognizance of this outbreak recorded in some states with no official record case in Plateau State, as reported by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, necessitated the stakeholders to create the much-needed awareness on the dangers of cholera.
We will spread this news around and the children will carry the information back to their homes, and I know that they will implement it.
This awareness has trickled down through the primary health care that is closer to this rural community.
This gathering is to drum up support. If you can see, we have kids as our major target. You know, hygiene is very essential. And I think one of the things we have also talked about so much is ODF, open defecation. And looking at open defecation, it is a major issue. I think Plateau State is ranked second in terms of open defecation. And I think we're sending a message that we require hygiene. Without hygiene, we won't be able to achieve the targets that we are supposed to.
Plateau State will continue to work with critical stakeholders to prevent outbreak. The Plateau State Water Project is mandated to increase access to water supply, sanitation, and hygiene services. In Jos, Bilkisu Nuhu, NTA News.
We now join Caleb in Jos to tell us what the situation is in terms of water, which is key to tackling diseases, including cholera. Hello, Caleb. Just give us a feel of how things are over there in terms of water and the understanding of how it is in terms of preventing outbreaks such as cholera.
The last part of your... This morning, the people of Plateau State came out for a walk to create some, enlightenment on the need to observe hygiene. And if you could recall, we were here at this...
All right, we apologize for the loss of contact with Caleb. Maybe we'll get back to him subsequently. Moving on, since Nigeria signed up to be part of the global anti-corruption fight, domesticating and implementing its tenets have been a challenge for the state. There is good news, says the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, as his ministry and partners undertake validation of the reviewed National Anti-Corruption Strategy Action Plan 2022 to 2026. Dele Atumbi reports that the plan has been the driving force behind recent successes achieved in the fight against corruption in the country.
Over the years, the common perception has been that corruption is a major drawback for Nigeria's development. With the regulatory reforms embarked upon by government through the national anti-corruption strategies have yielded prosecutions of allegedly corrupt individuals, entities and significant asset recovery in the last few years. Building on this, the federal government in November 2022 reviewed and extended the 2021 anti-corruption strategy to 2026 with a vision to change the culture of corruption in the polity. At a validation meeting in Abuja, Justice Minister Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, says promoting accountability in public and private life is in everyone's best interest.
The NAC's action plan implementation is focused on 5 pillars: prevention of corruption, public engagement, campaign for ethical orientation, enforcement and sanction, and recovery and management of proceeds of crime.
He also spoke on the recent judgment on local government autonomy.
If a governor asks you to go and commit a crime, he will not follow you to Kuje or to Kirikiri. No, you are on your own. So this is a challenge to the anti-corruption agencies.
We all have roles to play. So I want to encourage all of us to join hands. Let's be on the same page. It's a common fact and common knowledge that everybody hates corruption in Nigeria.
Acknowledging the link between sanctions and abating corrupt practices, public and private entities with national influence are involved in disseminating the message of probity and accountability. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA.
Now, the next set of reports will come from our Port Harcourt Network Centre, and Dibabari is our guide. Hello, Dibabari.
And welcome to Port Harcourt. Chairman of the House of Representatives Joint Committee on Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Sector, Ikenga Ugochinyere, has urged the Inspector General of Police to ensure that Rivers State remains peaceful and safe. This is coming on the heels of alleged violence in the state. He made the remark at the Port Harcourt International Airport in company of other members on a retreat in the state. Osinachi Samuel reports.
Members of the 10th House of Representatives Committee on Petroleum, Midstream and Downstream Sector are in Port Harcourt on a 3-day retreat aimed at brainstorming on measures to strengthen and reposition the petroleum midstream and downstream sector. The chairman, Petroleum Downstream, Ikenga Ugochinyere, on arrival at the Port Harcourt International Airport Amagwa in the company of his colleagues, explained that the 10th Assembly had on the 9th of July 2024 set up a joint forensic investigation committee with a 15-point mandate to investigate the alleged importation of adulterated petroleum products, unavailability of crude supplies to local refineries, among other factors militating against the sector.
The allegation of production of substandard petroleum products, the issue of racketeering and favoritism in the PFI regime, and other numerous issues that is militating against the downstream sector.
He urges the security agencies to ensure that lives and property are protected.
I want to appeal to the Inspector General of Police. Here have been very peaceful. That is why our retreat is holding in Rivers State. If Rivers is not peaceful and stable, over 80 lawmakers from the midstream and downstream petroleum will not be coming to Rivers for their 3-day retreat. And we want this peace to continue.
The retreat is to effectively strengthen the midstream and downstream sector for the economic growth of Nigeria. In Port Harcourt, Osinachi Samuel, NTA News.
It can ensure preparedness for potential hazards during rainy season. People must acquire necessary safety kits and stay informed about weather conditions. Ijoma Ogweke highlights the importance of safety consciousness during the rainy season.
Every year, persistent rains and flooding continue to pose serious challenges in parts of Port Harcourt and its environs. Road users often get frustrated due to the poor state of many internal roads, particularly during the rains. To reduce the hazards of rainy season and guide against the effects of flooding, even on the waterways, the importance of safety kits such as life jackets, inflatable boots, umbrella and waterproof to help individuals navigate flooded areas cannot be overemphasized.
Particular time you will experience a lot of flooding all over River State and some other parts of the state or the country. But what you need to do, you have to take some safety measures to get it. You have a lot of safety equipment that you can use. You have rain boots, you have raincoat.
Season like this, we do suffer a lot. As you can see, I'm carrying my slippers at hand every now and then, both closing time and morning hours. So I have a car, I can't even access, I always park on the road.
As safety is key to the survival of the individual, it has become necessary that people keep handy these emergency supplies to prevent slipping and to keep dry.
Lots of people have been coming to patronize us because we are in rainy season.
We sell more of the raincoats and the rain boots these days, especially during this period, this rainy season, and also everywhere is being flooded in Port Harcourt. You need the rain boots to cover, to protect your legs.
As the rainy season is still here, it behoves some people to keep updated with weather conditions, avoid driving when it rains, and remember necessary precautions to stay safe and dry. In Port Harcourt, Ijomu Gweke, NTA News.
And that's our bit from Port Harcourt. The news will continue in Enugu right after the break. Stay tuned.
For staying on, welcome to Enugu. Anambra State government is revolutionizing the agricultural sector with the inauguration of the distribution of over 1 million cash crop across the state. Ndem Carlo reports that the event took place in Onitsha. His report is here presented.
With the theme, Unveiling the Solution Palms and Stable Tree Crops Revolution, a catalyst for sustainable socio-economic transformation in Nigeria. The distribution of the cash crops is a bold step towards sustainable agricultural development, economic growth and prosperity for farmers, stakeholders, and the entire nation. The cash crops being distributed through the 326 political wards and through the extended family system are 700,000 palm seedlings, 200,000 breadfruit seedlings, 50,000 kola, 50,000 bitter kola, and 40,000 pawpaw seedlings. Governor Soludo noted that his administration is determined to plant 10 million seedlings over the next few years in the state, urging various institutions to plant a tree in order to help the environment and ecology.
The light of the nation is on the rise. In terms of natural resources, palm oil, coconut oil, and the other rare economic traits will, in the medium term, constitute Anambra's own next oil.
Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, represented by the State Director of the Ministry, Arthur Mbuba, expressed the commitment of the federal government to partnering with Anambra State, especially in the agricultural sector.
Government, through my ministry, will continue to collaborate with you because you are doing very, very well.
It will be recalled that 1.1 million seedlings have been distributed between 2022 and 2023 to sustain wealth creation.
And that is it from here. It's back to Dennis in Abuja.
Thank you, Chinenye. Well, that's all we have time for on Nationwide at this time. From the production crew and myself, thanks for watching.